Well, hello and welcome back to the garden, everybody. My name is Brandon, a gardener growing things in Southeast Texas, Zone 9B, southeast of Houston to be exact. And this year I decided to grow things in this tree. This tree was a lot smaller at the beginning of this year, and I'm not going to say whether it was a good idea or bad idea to grow these things in this tree, but I wanted to show how that turned out and worked out for me. Not bad. So the things I decided to grow were these gourds, birdhouse gourds, bottle gourds, art gourds, craft gourds. Basically, these are a gourd that has a functional use, kind of like loofahs. You know, you can grow loofahs and turn them into shower sponges and dish scrubbers and things. Well, these you can grow, and they have a hard outer shell, which you can turn into birdhouses, which is one of the main things I wanted to grow these for, but you can also cut them in any way, shape you want. I've seen people make lamps out of them, bowls, all kinds of things, sculptures. And so I really wanted to get my hands on some seeds for these this year, and luckily the local garden center was selling them, and so I decided to grow a few plants. One of them, as I mentioned, in this tree. And unfortunately, halfway through the year, both of the plants that I grew died. Now, I think that's due to squash vine borers, and if you don't know what those are, consider yourself lucky, because they are the bane of many gardeners' existence. Basically, it's a little moth. It's a very pretty moth, and the larval stage of the moth gets into the stem of gourd type plants and eats the inside of it for its nutrition to grow and turn into an adult. And it's not that act directly that kills the plant. It's the fact that, you know, the larva is in there pooping and doing its thing and causing an open wound on the plant, and then a lot of moisture collects in there when it rains and such, and infections can take hold and end up killing the plant essentially. So I think that might be what happened here, whether it was that or something else. The stem of the plant died, but it was doing really amazingly before it did. And I've been waiting to record this video to do the cleanup. And so I wanted to show you just how this worked out. I don't think it's a terrible idea, but it does require a little bit of work to, I guess, clean up the mess that has been created up here. Let's try and look at that for a moment. This, by the way, in case I didn't say it in the opening, is a sycamore tree that planted itself a few years ago, and I decided that it was in a spot that was reasonable enough that I could leave it. And I've been shaping it into essentially a shade structure for the greenhouse. And as I said, I decided to grow the birdhouse gourds. Well, I'm calling them birdhouse gourds because that's my main function, up this tree, and they were doing so well until they were possibly killed by squash vine borers. I think that's what happened here. I can't say for sure unless I find, you know, some actual remnants of the insects themselves in here, but whatever killed them, they are dead now. And so I've left them up here for the purposes of eventually recording this video and to kind of dry out, because I'm going to have to store them somewhere either way until they kind of mature and dry out. But I wanted to just kind of show y'all that process and talk about birdhouse gourds for a minute. Before I get started on collecting the gourds, I'm going to do a tiny bit of regular maintenance. I was waiting for this video to do this. Part of my growing any of the trees in the garden, and even some of the things that I maintain a bit more as a shrub, is I tend to limb them up, which means cutting off the bottom limbs up to a certain point, and then that kind of facilitates having a trunk that looks a certain way. And I'm very artistic and sculptural with my trees, so this is something that I will always do and show you kind of how I do it. And for this, I did let these get a little bit bigger. I actually barely noticed that they were growing here. That's how fast water shoots can grow, like basically branches that are growing further down a tree. And for this, I am using the heavy-duty pruners because they got very thick very fast. It's very quick work. I mean, I'm not going to bring the camera in for this, but basically just get these off of here. Ooh. The rose I have growing over there is grabbing onto them. These will go into my wood chipper shredder, my homeowner wood chipper shredder, and turn into a little bit of mulch for the garden. Or I will just throw them in the burn pit if I don't have the motivation to pull out the chipper. But basically it takes like 10 seconds to deal with these in the wood chipper. Or I can also turn these stems into something. They make good garden stakes. Anytime you got a long straight trunk growing on one of these branches, I try to pull those to the side and actually use them for something, because they are useful. They really are. So now that I've taken care of that business, and that honestly was very quick and easy, and I haven't had too many water sprouts turn up on this tree, we are going to pull out one of my favorite tools you might recognize, and start pulling these gourds down, because I do want to get all this dead material out of the trees. So I'm hoping most of these have developed to the point where I don't have to let them sit too long. I'm terribly excited to start doing things with these. I have a friend at work also who wants to do something with some of them. I do have a couple of branches I might prune off in this process as well. Whee! I haven't done a whole lot of major shaping to this tree, and I think I will do a separate video showing what I plan to do up here, pulling the branches around. For now, we're just gonna have a little bit of fun pulling these gourds off. So I suppose I didn't mention why I'm so interested in these. I mean, the thing here that I would say is important for me is that I really am a bit averse to using, plastics and manufactured items. Anything that I have to go and buy from somewhere, I'd really rather grow it on my own. Most people don't realize that you can grow a lot of things that you use. I mean, I'm not saying that you can replace everything that you buy from the store, but from, this one is so cute. That's so tiny. Ugh. I hope that these formed well. I don't know if they all formed fully or not. We will find out. I will cut probably a few of them open that are a little bit more on the dry side. But as I was saying, yeah, I really like the idea of growing things that you can use. Oh, this one's got a cool shape. I really am keen on the idea of growing like things that you can use and replace other things with. Like, I'm thinking along the lines here of, like, instead of buying a little plastic basket or bowl, maybe cutting one of these off on the bottom and turning it into a little bowl that you could use, I don't know, like a jewelry dish or something. And yeah, just finding little ways to replace things that you may otherwise not, want to purchase from a store. And also, the other thing that I really like about this kind of concept is, I'm going to try to yank some of the vines out. Another thing about this concept is that if you're done with these things, they're not going to be around for a million years. You can literally throw them in a compost pile and they will biodegrade and return to the earth. That is amazing to me, that you can grow something, use it for a little while, and whenever you don't need it anymore, it's not going to outlive you and poison the environment. And I do know that that's an opinion thing, and I think most people are kind of on board with that, right? Like, let's not poison this earth any more than we have to. And if you can grow some things that you use on a daily basis, like the loofahs, which I'm not growing currently because I grew so many in my first year on this property that I actually haven't had to grow anymore. But if you can grow things like the loofahs and have your bath sponges set for years, and they're biodegradable, so when they wear down, you just toss it in the compost pile or the burn pit. And it doesn't harm the environment. Yeah, I know burning things is, questionable, debatable. I'm okay with it, but not everyone is. Not everyone can burn things. I understand that. But yeah, I think that this is just a great way to create things. Oh, I thought I didn't think that was a branch I was cutting, but that's okay. This tree could use some trimming, definitely. One interesting thing that happened with this tree, because of the gourds, the weight of the plant itself, is that it pulled a lot of the branches down, which is not a bad thing in my opinion. I actually really like to promote the movement of branches. In fact, I'm not sure if you can see or not, but I just did some shaping on this rough leaf dogwood to make its branches nice and whimsical, and this is coming along great. But the sycamore here is so big, and it's getting so big so fast that it's got a bigger role to play by, like I said, creating shade for the greenhouse, but also the structure. It's incredible, like the structure that a tree like this can provide. And I'm thoroughly enjoying it already, but I can't wait until these branches start to lean more this way, and I've got this big shady area here. Might be nice to prune these roses back and put like a little table or something in there, but the space inside of the greenhouse is also just excellent whenever it's kind of cold outside in the winter and I don't want to be out in the garden because I'm not a fan of the cold. And I guess this is getting a bit into the greenhouse thing, but we're just having a chat here, right? I think that's how some of my videos are going to go, is that we're chatting, we're hanging out. So another reason that I decided to keep the sycamore tree where it came up here is that it is deciduous and not evergreen. So it drops its leaves in the winter. Now that can also be a bad thing, but I'll go into more detail on that in a video if I do more on the sycamore. Basically, it's a little hard to deal with a bunch of giant leaves in the garden than it is to deal with something like pine needles. But the fact that it drops its leaves is really, really good for shading the greenhouse, because in the winter, I need the sun to get into the greenhouse, but in the summer, when it has leaves, it's blocking the sun. So if you were to grow a tree or a plant specifically for the purposes of maintaining a greenhouse, then this is the kind of plant that you would want. Something that has leaves and shade in the summer, but in the winter is nice and bare and lets the sun through. All right, I think I've cut about everything I can from here. I'm gonna try to start pulling more gourds out again. They are quite buried up in there. I really do love these cut and hold pruners so much. All right, I'll pull a few more out and then probably cease video on this and just show the gourds for a little bit. Ooh, cool. I'm always kind of impressed by how thick and tough of a branch that these can cut. This is my heaviest duty version of these, and they do really well. They can cut up to like a ½ an inch or so branch, and really not without too much trouble. And this is what I'd planned to kind of do all along with the gourds, was basically harvest them with these. And I finally get to see how that's working out. Definitely not bad. Oh, I'm so tempted to just yank like the whole thing down at once. But I think I should be a little more surgical than that. I am glad to see though that it seems that these mostly developed pretty well before the plant died. I wasn't sure, if they were gonna fully develop their shell or not. I know I've seen a few on the other plant that I have growing, which definitely didn't develop. They're starting to shrivel as they decompose. This is gonna be mostly verbal. I don't think I'm gonna put video in here or anything, but there's a great Instagram account, great people by the way who run it, called Gourdlandia, and that's on Instagram. Maybe I will remember to put a link in my comments section, but they're really, really excellent. I think it's one person who runs the page, But just the things that they do with the gourds and the way that they have a reverence for them, it's just inspiring. Seriously, they've built a whole business around it. And so if you can go find them on Instagram, and again, I'll try to make a mental note for myself here about it. Go find them. They're called Gourdlandia. Once again, for like the 4th or 5th time, Brandon, remember to put a link in the description or the comment section. Right. I don't actually know how many gourds are up here, but I know it's a fair bit. Let's see, I've got at least a dozen down here on the ground now. I'll show them once I get them all down. Okay. By the way, y'all, if you think that maybe I should make more of an effort to put music in these videos, let me know. I haven't really been too stressed about it or anything, but I do intend to do that. I want to avoid the whole copyright infringement thing, you know. I'm trying not to have my YouTube taken down before I even hit 400 subscribers. That would be nice. All right, I think I've reached the point where I can't see anymore, and I might have to get the ladder in there. Oh, I'm terrified of that. I don't want to do that. Let's not do that. All right, let's see what I have harvested here on the ground first, and then we will just look at them for a second. Maybe I'll cut into one for you. So this is what we have. Oh, I love some of the shapes. Look at this one. I'm hoping they've developed enough, and some of these little ones are so cute. My gosh. These are so cool. So let me show you the other ones that I have here. This is the first one that I pulled and cut open recently, and the shell does seem to be developed pretty well. I think that they can be harder shelled than this, but I cut a hole in this one and took the seeds out just to kind of see what I was working with and how these looked. I haven't really cleaned it out yet. You're supposed to kind of roll pebbles or something around in there to clean that stuff out, and you can do whatever you want with them, really. You don't have to do anything particular, but this is what they are and what they look like, and there are so many different types of them, so you know, you can go and find seeds for all kinds, and like I said, some of them are a little bit bigger than others. I can't wait to play around with these and make birdhouses out of them. That's what I really want to do. I wanted to build birdhouses, but I think we're going to end up making them out of gourds, which is awesome because, like I said, I want things that I use to be as biodegradable as possible. Okay, let's cut one of these bad boys open. I decided to try out one of the chubby ones because I really like the shape of it. Oh my gosh. So yeah, let's see what's inside of one of these things. This is just a hole saw. There are a number of tools that people use to get into these gourds and to carve them and decorate them. I've got a few tools. I haven't done a whole lot of work with these things yet, but this is one of the main ones that I will probably be using. Yummy. So, inside of these gourds are going to be seeds. Very lovely. I'm gonna try and dump these out here. Oh yeah, this one dried out pretty well already. Cool. Yeah, this one looks about as developed as the other one. And if you're curious, like I am, as to how strong the actual material is, luckily there's a little chunk here. There we go. That we can play around with. So let's see. Let me see if I can have you guys experience this with me. I'm gonna snap it and see how easily it snaps. Okay, so I mean, it's a little bit harder than something like an animal cracker. So it's not like the hardest material in the world, and also not fully dried out and possibly not fully formed, but not that bad. It's definitely useful for something like a birdhouse. But yeah, pretty dang cool that you can grow things like this, and I'm so excited to use these. I'm gonna probably make like lamps out of them and stuff, and I just can't wait. I'm not gonna put that in this video because it would take me months to get that out, but I will certainly update because eventually I will show my more arts and crafts side of myself here. I'm just trying to focus on consistently making videos right now because that's not easy for me. The ADHD thing wins very often. So for now, I suppose this is probably gonna be it. Let me make sure I'm in frame here. Yeah, that's probably good. So yeah, birdhouse gourds. This was an interesting way to grow them. I also grew them on a trellis nearby. I'm not going to show that plant right now. It's a real mess over there. But hey, if you have a small tree and you have nowhere else to grow a vine and grow pumpkins or gourds or something, you might want to do this. But watch out for the squash vine borers because those babies will kill your plants so quickly. It's not even funny. It's devastating, really. A lot of people grow pumpkins and don't realize that these things exist, and then when the whole plant dies at once, it's quite a shame and not fun to find out what squash vine borers are. So maybe look into that before you grow gourds or squash or pumpkins, etc. For now, though, I'm going to go finish pulling this vine out of this tree. So thank you for joining me today. I hopefully will have another video out soon. I know I'm a little late getting this one out. As always, like, share, and subscribe if you'd like to. If you have any questions about anything I said today or want me to talk about something more in depth, let me know. So yeah, you guys have a great day and awesome, well, it's a weekend for me. I'll see you next time.